share his plenty with me, as he ought to do, if his religion wasn't a humbug? When I lie on my deathbed, and Mary, bless her, stands fretting, as I know she will fret," and here his voice faltered a little, "will a rich lady come and take her to her own home, if need be, till she can look round, and see what best to do? No, I tell you it's the poor, and the poor only, as does such things for the poor. Don't think to come over me with the old tale that the rich know nothing of the trials of the poor. I say, if they don't know, they ought to know. We're their slaves as long as we can work. We pile up their fortunes with the sweat of our brows, and yet we are to live as separate as if we were in two worlds, ay, as separate as Dives and Lazarus, with a great gulf betwixt us. But I know who was best off then," and he wound up his speech with a low chuckle that had no mirth in it. "Well, neighbour," said Wilson, "all that may be very true, but what I want to know now is about Esther. When did you last hear of her?" "Why, she took leave of us that Sunday night in a very loving way, kissing both wife Mary and daughter Mary, if I must not call her little, and shaking hands with me, but all in a cheerful sort of manner, so we thought nothing about her kisses and shakes. But on Wednesday night comes Mrs. Bradshaw's son with Esther's box, and presently Mrs. Bradshaw follows with the key, and when we began to talk, we found Esther told her she was coming back to live with us, and would pay her week's money for not giving notice. And on Tuesday night she carried off a little bundle. Her best clothes were on her back, as I said before, and told Mrs. Bradshaw not to hurry herself about the big box, but bring it when she had time. So, of course, she thought she should find Esther with us, and when she told her story, my missus set up such a screech, and fell down in a dead swoon. Mary ran up with water for her mother, and I thought so much about my wife, I did not seem to care at all for Esther. But next day I asked all the neighbours, both our own and Bradshaw's, and they'd none of 'em heard or seen nothing of her. I even went to a policeman, a good enough sort of man, but a fellow I'd never spoken to before because of his livery, and I asked him if his cuteness could find anything out for us. So I believe he asks other policemen, and one of them had seen a wench, like our Esther, walking very quickly with a bundle under her arm on Tuesday night, toward 8 o'clock, and get into a hackney coach near Helm Church, and we don't know the number, and can't trace it no further. I'm sorry enough for the girl, for bad's come over her one way or another, but I'm sorrier for my wife. She loved her next to me and Mary, and she's never been the same body since poor Tom's death. However, let's go back to them. Your old woman may have done her good." As they walked homewards with a brisker pace, Wilson expressed a wish that they still were the near neighbours they once had been. "Still our Alice lives in the cellar under number 14 in Barber Street, and if you'd only speak the word, she'd be with you in 5 minutes to keep your wife company when she's lonesome. Though I'm Alice's brother, and perhaps ought not to say it, I will say there's none more ready to help with heart or hand than she is. Though she may have done a hard day's wash, there's not a child ill within the street, but Alice goes to offer to sit up, and does sit up too, though maybe she's to be at her work by 6 next morning." "She's a poor woman, and can feel for the poor, Wilson," was Barton's reply, and then he added, "Thank you kindly for your offer, and mayhap I may trouble her to be a bit with my wife, for while I'm at work, and Mary's at school. I know she frets about a bit. See, there's Mary," and the father's eye brightened, as in the distance, among a group of girls, he spied his only daughter, a bonny lass of 13 or so, who came bounding along to meet and to greet her father, in a manner that showed that the stern-looking man had a tender nature within. The two men had crossed the last stile, while Mary loitered behind to gather some buds of the coming hawthorn, when an overgrown lad came past her, and snatched a kiss, exclaiming, "For old acquaintance sake, Mary." "Take that for old acquaintance sake, then," said the girl, blushing rosy red, more with anger than shame, as she slapped his face. The tones of her voice called back her father and his friend, and the aggressor proved to be the eldest son of the latter, the senior by 18 years of his little brothers. "Here, children, instead of kissing and quarrelling, do you each take a baby, for if Wilson's arms be like mine, they are heartily tired." Mary sprang forward to take her father's charge, with a girl's fondness for infants, with some little foresight of the events soon to happen at home, while young Wilson seemed to lose his rough, cubbish nature, as he crowed and cooed to his little brother. "Twins is a great trial to a poor man, bless 'em," said the half-proud, half-weary father, as he bestowed a smacking kiss on the babe ere he parted with it. Chapter 1.